Good morning. My name's Lee Beasley. My pronouns are she and her. This morning, I will be presenting a nurse perspective on the science and art of healing. Joan Boriansko, a cellular biologist and author, wrote this about healing. The message that underlines healing is simple yet radical. We are already whole underneath our fears and our worries, unaffected by many layers of our conditioning and actions, is a peaceful core. The work of healing is peeling away the barriers of fear that keep us unaware of our true nature of love, peace, and rich interconnections with the web of life. The history of healing the sick goes back almost to the beginning of time. Healing methods in the ancient times consisted of religious rites, ceremonies, and special formulas which brought forth the mysterious, miraculous powers of deities and other supernatural beings. The healing theme centered around the idea of expelling the unseen, malicious spirits which could cause disease. Appeals to the gods for the care of disease were made orally and symbolically. Long before the advent of modern medicine, men and women were seeking the source of and making elixirs and potions for healing. Stone Age cave dwellers collected medicinal plants and minerals. The Egyptians used herbal medicines, magic spells, and incantations. The Romans believed that the blood of the fallen gladiators could cure leprosy. Epilepsy, excuse me. In the ancient times, some civilizations used slaves, the poor or fallen women, to serve as nurses. From the 14th to the 19th centuries, construction of hospitals started due to the plagues and other diseases. During the Revolutionary War, George Washington ordered many women to serve as nurses to help wounded soldiers. In the 18th century, the family members cared for most of their infirmed. Starting in 1853, the beginning of the Crimean War, Florence Nightingale made significant contributions and influenced medicine, nursing, and the concept of holistic healing. In the mid-19th century, nurses began to be seen in a different light as Florence Nightingale began to pioneer a new approach to healing the sick. The goal was healing the whole person. During this time, she set up new hospitals and established the first nursing schools. Preparing for this talk this morning brought back memories of over 45 years ago. Of course, it just seemed like it was yesterday. I was attending college and I could still remember it. That class of nursing history. The topic that day was Florence Nightingale. While listening to this lecture, my mind began to wander, and it seemed like it did that a lot in the lectures. And I questioned, who is this mysterious person carrying around a lamp? What has she got to do with me? What lessons could I possibly learn from her? Florence lived so long ago, and surely this did not apply to modern day nursing. As I completed my studies and proceeded into my nursing career, along the way, I would discover that this nursing involved a lot more than bedpans and procedures. I realized I had a lot to learn about myself and others. At this learning process would continue each day with each new patient for the rest of my nursing career. Along the way, I learned that Florence indeed played a large part of how I would treat and interact with my patients to guide them along the path of healing. The capacity of one human to heal another and the healing relationships that evolve have been the subject of interest of all healthcare providers, specifically for nurses. One operational definition of healing in nursing is the innate capacity of a person to restore order, purpose, harmony, and the wholeness by meaningfully reintegrating the different facets of self into wholeness. Facilitating healing has a lot to do with creating conditions that promote innate healing capabilities of the person. Healing does not necessarily mean that the person will return to their previous state of health. However, it provides a way of dealing with their condition or even their impending death. I clearly remember that first day I was to report to my first job as a nurse. I spent the whole evening before laying out my newly ironed white uniform along with my white support hose and my sturdy white shoes, and of course my crowning glory, a starched white nursing cap. It would be unusual to see this dress code today, and thank God they did away with those hats during my career of nursing. I could hardly sleep that night. My optimistic self was ready to go out into the world to care for and heal the people. I have learned a lot about healing since that day. I was to discover that healing is a positive, subjective, unpredictable process involving transformation to a new sense of wholeness, spiritual, transcendence, and reinterpretation of life. Healing involves the process of the right relationships forming on any and all levels of the human experience. I noticed in Florence Nightingale's writings that there were ideas about healing which anchors nursing's current conceptualization. Nightingale's thinking was rooted in the scientific method and research findings. She emphasized that the core of nursing practice is holistic healing as it is today. Healing is precipitated by a significant loss, such as an injury, a life-threatening illness, a traumatic event, or impending death. We can talk about healing in terms of both psychological and physical wounds, to the extent that the human organism mobilizes the underlying physiological response. Physical healing involves the inflammatory process. Psychological healing involves guiding the individual to self-actualization. The healing process is a growing and learning process during which a person opens themselves to larger possibilities of life. It is a journey towards self-discovery, a process of heightened awareness of all things. It requires a shift in the way a person normally thinks and feels about themselves and the world. Healing may be accompanied by reshifting of values, priorities that may lead the person to know themselves for the first time. An authentic self who may live a fully recognized, enriched, and profound life, even in the presence of an incurable disease. This healing, involving the physical integrity of a person, their psychological and emotional stability, is commonly referred to as the holistic approach to healing. It is taking a mind, body, spirit, and the emotional approach to help the patient heal. To be effective in the healing process, a nurse has to have an open mind, heart, and non-judgmental understanding of their patient's belief and their values. This plays a big role in the outcome of not only the patient, but the patient's family. For example, at one point in my career, I was working as a house supervisor at a pediatric hospital where the patients were predominantly Mexican American. During this employment, I witnessed many different cultural beliefs about healing. One day, I received a call from the ICU unit to come to discuss a patient. A family had brought their neighborhood curandero to seek a sick child. The staff was questioning the treatment the curandero was going to perform on the child. He wanted to do a cleansing rite. This involved rolling an egg over the child to absorb the negative energy. The egg was then cracked into the glass of water and placed under the child's bed. It was determined that since this did not interfere with the medical care and was not harming the child, that performing this ritual was not a problem. Who's to say that the curandero's actions did or did not help this child get better? The important thing that day was that the family felt better and it helped develop a trusting relationship with the staff, and the medical treatment was accepted by the family. The child was able to obtain complete recovery. Another frequent practice ritual by the parents that was blended into our nursing care plan was that was referred to as the evil eye. And attempted to say it in Spanish. I used to know that, but it sort of have slipped my mind. It was not uncommon to see a child wearing a bracelet or a necklace made of small red beads. Some children had seen a curandero before being admitted to the hospital. They would be wearing a necklace made of string, which contained a bag of herbs. The belief was that these items protected the child from evil spirits, and that had made them sick and helped them recover. Again, this did not interfere with the medical care and was not harming the child, so this practice was allowed. You can find a similar tradition of healing also in the rural areas of Pakistan. Here it is referred to as sumar, and sumar is the combination of a paste of hazelnut powder and oils, and this is put around the child's eyes. I don't know if you've seen pictures of infants, and their babies have these black circles all around their eyes. And anyway, they're trying to keep the evil spirits away to keep the child well. Healing is enhanced by understanding of the health and well-being of the whole person. In nursing, this is the ability to facilitate and enhance the innate healing capabilities of the person. This requires understanding the whole person and their universe from a holistic perspective. This quite simply has to do with how we imagine the person as being dynamic, harmonious, unitary, inseparable of mind and body and spirit, in which energy is an integral, interconnective presence. However, there is also an interconnectiveness between self and others, self and the universe, that is thought to be actually at the level of the subatomic particles, where mass and energy are continuously interchanged. This is something Einstein recognized many years ago. Healing and health of a whole person depends on an understanding of the developmental processes. They are critical for us, helping a person towards self-actualization. They also need awareness of their whole being for a harmonious, inseparable interconnection at a molecular level to the universe. This knowledge helps nurses to facilitate healing in their patients. By the end of my nursing journey, I had discovered that Florence Nightingale's holistic approach to facilitating healing, such as listening, touching, being fully present, being positive, observing, and treating the whole person, is still true for today, as it was for her. One knows that they have achieved a healing space when they experience a sense of being connected with another human. And as I was looking some of the things up about Florence to refresh my memory, I ran across this poem by a British author, and he wrote children's stories. And this is a poem he wrote. Long ago, there was a soldier fighting in the war. His name was Bert, and he got hurt. His leg was very sore. They took him to a hospital and put him in a bed. They hoped he would get better, but he just got worse instead. It was a nasty, smelly place. Everything was dirty. The floors, the beds, the bandages. Poor old injured Bertie. Onto the bed jumped 3 big rats. They laughed at Bert and said, "We'll give you a nasty disease, and soon you'll be dead." Poor Bert was very scared indeed. The rats were right. He thought he was going to die. But then a light appeared. It was a lady with a lamp called Florence Nightingale. She took one look at the rats and picked them up by the tail. "No rats allowed here," she said. "On this I'm quite determined. From now on this place will be kept clean, safe, and devermined." The rats saw that she meant business and ran away in fear. Then Florence smiled at Bertie, said, "I'm really glad you're here." She gave him a nice clean bandage, an ointment for pain, and it was not too long before Bertie felt well again. So whenever you whatever you do in life, you can apply Florence principles of healing to our loved ones, friends, strangers, and people we meet every day, just by listening to them, touching, being fully present, being positive, having empathy, observing, most of all, being kind. I would now let Carter Mines will now play Chopin's Interlude, Waltz, in B minor.